Howdy, it's Giuseppe Bartoli, and today's poem, giving the status of things around the world, all these protests, especially in the States, about the unjust killing in Minnesota, or murder, shall we put it that way. I'm going to read a poem called The Harvest of 83, and the poem is based on the brutal capture and killing of Olegario Curitomay. He was a local leader of the Shining Path around the Lucanamarca region. And in March of 1983, he was captured by the Ronderos, or local militia, and they took him to the Plaza de Armas or town square, where he was stoned, stabbed, and set on fire, only to be finished off with a single shot. So this is how it goes. The Harvest of 83. After the Ronderos captured him, they took him to the town square and tested the villagers. Let him who is without sin among you be the first to throw a stone. But no one had read the Bible to truly understand the question, because everyone was illiterate. In the defense, ignorance cast the first stone, and like a drug addiction, it wasn't enough. They wanted him to suffer like those he had made suffer, by feeling the loss of body part after body part. They grabbed all they could find to perform a public litany of revenge: needles, knives, bayonets, daggers, hairpins, shibs, machetes, spears, knitting needles, and sickles. And they gripped him tight like a fist of defiance, and hacked him down limb by limb. Like rows of corn and wheat they grew, and they plowed through his skin like a prayer offering to Inti, and it still wasn't enough. So they sent the town's women to collect all the torches that illuminate the muddy streets, the little corn oil they had saved up, and as many piles of dry leaves as they could find. Once it was all harvested, they tied him up to a post, spraying the dried leaves in a semicircle above his feet, while cleansing his soul of the corn oil they couldn't afford to misuse due to the many droughts. They set the torches alight, and they sprayed homemade liquor on his face, meant for public gatherings, and they threw at him torches, and they watched him burn to crisp. But on this occasion, they made an exception by putting out the fire, because this was not meant to be enough. No, not yet. Thinking what to do next, the proverbial "there's more than one way to skin a cat" came into effect, as the Ronderos looked at the very weapons the government had given them to protect the provinces for inspiration. But the brief hiatus was not broken, hundreds of meters above sea level, until the town drunk drank the last of the holiday liquor, shouting, "What are you waiting for? Just shoot the poor man." So they all turned towards the town's shaman, or chaman, who waved his rattle in approval of the drunkard's suggestion, as he stood up from his stone stool while taking a swig of aguardiente, and he approached the man, and he spat in his face, and he pronounced an incomprehensible prayer in Quechua. And for some odd reason that Chama could not explain, he put 2 coca leaves in the man's mouth, as if they were 2 copper coins covering his eyes to pay his passage into the underworld. But it was not until after the blessing, the burns, and the beatings that the government decided to finally intervene, when the town's mayor took a burlap sack from a nearby vegetable stand and covered the man's head, as if this gesture were a sign of true democracy. And they all applauded the mayor's unconstitutional garnishings to the day's main course, as he too ignored a man's right to habeas corpus. So the mayor did what any other man would have done. He decided to take control of the proceedings in the hope of reaping future personal benefit. And on his signal, the Ronderos began loading their guns, and they took aim. But only one was ordered to fire, and this time it proved to be enough, as the lifeless body collapsed onto the ground like a shredded sack of potatoes, seeping its contents onto the streets, where nearby a group of local townschildren ate their boiled potatoes and corn with unpasteurized cheese, proving that the fruits from one harvest can yield another. Well, I hope that we all can agree that all lives matter. It's not, the Declaration of Independence is wrong. It's all people are equal, not all men. We need to change that. We need to change our perceptions in our hearts. And we need to demonstrate to ourselves, as well to the world, that we can do better. It's my hope, after reading this to you, that we'll have a better tomorrow. That we'll start a revolution of justice and not incoherence. Hashtag stay safe. Hashtag stay at home.